Hello everybody. A few months ago I made a video about my GKS interview, and for a channel with like 100 subscribers it got a lot of views, and I also got so many DMs on Instagram asking more about GKS but also about getting into school in Korea in general. With this video I'm making an update. So for my GKS update, I did not win the GKS scholarship. I went university track and I did pass the university interview and was nominated by the university, but then I was rejected in the final round. So I got pretty far, but I'm really glad that my interview video helped a lot of people. One of our viewers actually won GKS, so congratulations. But I did get into graduate school in Korea with a 75% scholarship. Yay! I've decided to make a video showing students other ways to come to Korea because it is possible. I know GKS is like the one true great scholarship, but there are quite a few ways to get here. Generally, I've gotten several questions such as, how do I apply for school in Korea? How do I get a scholarship? So I decided to make several different videos about this. So this first video is going to be how to apply for graduate school in Korea. The next video will be about how to get a scholarship in Korea. And then the third video will be how to pass your grad school interview. Just for some background information, I currently live in Korea, and I was living in Korea last year working as a teacher, so I was applying for school within Korea. So for the first video, we're going to talk about how to apply for graduate school in Korea. I'll start with a very common question, and the first question is, do I have to speak Korean to study in Korea? And I think this depends on what type of degree you're looking for. For bachelor's, yeah, you're gonna have to speak Korean. Most bachelor courses are only in Korean. However, if you are going for a graduate degree, then there are some graduate degrees that are offered in English. For example, my master's, which is international trade, is all in English. So for you, if you're looking to study in Korea, you should go to the university that you're interested in's website and check and see if their master's program is available in English. Just double check, because some are partially English, some are partially in Korean. So you need to really check the courses to see if you can study them. Now the second question is, how do I apply for a master's in Korea? From my experience, there are 3 important steps. The first important thing is to keep in mind that all universities have different registration periods. So you have to look at the website. They're not all the same. I applied for 4 different schools, and each school had a different registration period. I applied for the fall semester, so I was applying as early as March and as late as May. Generally, the registration period is only open for 2 weeks, if that. So you have to keep going to the website, checking when the school you're interested in will open the registration period. And just a little pro tip, go ahead and look at last year's guideline so you can go ahead and have a general idea of what documents you need to prepare. And then when it comes to registration, you're already prepared with what you need. The second most important thing to keep in mind is that if you're applying for more than one school, each school might require different documents. For me, as I said, I applied for 4 schools. Those schools did require the same documents, but some were slightly different. For one school, I had to get an extra document. For some other schools, I had different guidelines on certain documents. So you need to check the outline. You need to look at your application packet and notice what is listed on the checklist so you can prepare everything you need, especially if you're applying for more than one school. The third most important thing to keep in mind is that you will have to apply online and by mail. So typically you're going to file an application online, pay the application fee, and then you're going to send in physical copies of your documents to the school. And when you send those in, you do not get them back. So make copies of everything. So on to the next portion. What documents do I need? And so I'm just going to say for the school that I chose what documents I needed for that particular school, which is what most of them generally needed. First, obviously, you're going to need the application form, but you will most likely fill out the application form online while paying your application fee, and then you will submit that again by mail with your packets. So be sure to make a copy of your online application. The next document you're going to need is 2 sealed recommendation letters. As a grad student, you should have your recommendation letter by a professor or someone you've worked under within your research. And each school has different rules about how they'll accept recommendation letters. Some schools have certain templates that your professor has to fill out. And if you do not use that template, then you will have points deducted from your application package. So be sure to check their PDFs to be sure you're using the right format of your recommendation letter. Also, Korea is quite picky about how your recommendation letter should be presented. They want it to be very secure. So some schools have an option where your professor can personally send them your recommendation letter. But if you want to put it in your packet, and if your school requires you to have it in your packet, you need to have it sealed. For extra caution, have your professor sign their name across the back flap in pen. And so that'll show that your document has not been tampered with, and you won't have any issues with having it accepted by the university. The next document you're going to need is your diploma. So depending on what country you're from, if your country is a part of the apostle agreement, then you have to get an apostle on your document. And this is just a certification from your government saying that your diploma is legit in your country and it'll be legit in Korea. So how do we get the apostle? You can, if you're from America, where I'm from, you can go to your Secretary of State and they will apostille it for you. In my state, it's like $5, but also my university offers an apostille service. So with my order, they just apostilled it for me. So check with your school, but then if not, you can just send it to your Secretary of State. The next document you need will be your transcripts, and your transcripts will also need the apostille. The next document you might need would be proof of your language ability. For me, I'm an American person. I was born in an English-speaking country and I studied in an English-speaking country, so I did not need to take a test. But if your master's is in English and you are from a country that does not speak English as a native language, then you will need to take a test, an English test, and send in your score to show that you are fluent in English. The same applies if you are studying in Korean. You will have to pass the TOEIC. And also you should include a color copy of your passport or your ARC if you're already in Korea. In some cases, I had to supply my birth certificate and my parents' birth certificates to show that I was a true international student, that my parents had not immigrated from Korea to my country. So be prepared to have your family register. The next thing you're going to need is your bank statement, and your bank statement will have to show an equivalent of 20,000 US dollars. You will need this no matter what. If your application does not require it, you're going to need it for your visa application anyways, so be prepared for that. Also, Korea is really strict about who can sponsor your education. In Korea, only you or your parents can sponsor your education. So if you have a Korean boyfriend or girlfriend, or have an aunt or uncle or grandparent that wants to sponsor you, that's not going to work. It has to be your parents, and you have to provide their birth certificate alongside it. Lastly, and most importantly, you're going to need a statement of purpose or personal essay. So this can be 2 to 3 pages. Your school will have a guideline of what they are expecting. For me, I needed to cover my previous studies, my research topic, and my future career goals within my letter. And when I say this is the most important, it is the most important because this can determine 1, if you get into the school, and 2, how much scholarship money you can win. So put in all your effort into this letter and prepare it as well as possible. And if all goes well with all your documents, you will receive an interview. Not all schools have interviews in Korea. I applied for 4 schools and only 2 of those schools required an interview. However, the 2 schools that did not have an interview, I did not get accepted. But the 2 schools that did have interviews, I was accepted with scholarships. So use your interview to show the school who you are, because you might win them over with your personality. And that concludes my video of what you will need to get into a master's program, what to expect when applying for school. So keep in mind that since you have to get your documents certified, this can take a really long time. So prepare as far in advance as possible. For me, my applications were due in March through May, and I was preparing as early as November. And luckily I did that because, you know, a pandemic hit and I almost didn't get my documents. But luckily I prepared in advance and I got everything I needed. So yeah, prepare early in advance. Good luck to everybody who is applying for graduate school in Korea. And in my next video, I'll cover how I received my 75% scholarship on my master's program. So stick around for that.